3 tips to do if you ejaculate too early. Whether it is excitement, whether it's sensitivity, whether it's anxiety, there are many different reasons that can lead us to ejaculating too soon. But when it happens again and again, sex starts to become a miserable experience. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 tips, things that you can start doing today, strategies that you can use to help prevent and reduce coming too soon. Okay, so let's jump straight into this. And in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see a button that says subscribe. If you find these 3 tips helpful, then click on that button so that you can get the latest videos and tools as I share them. First up, number 1 is understanding what is actually going on. Now, let me break this down in a bit more detail. At the beginning, I mentioned just 3 reasons why we can have premature ejaculation: sensitivity, excitement, anxiety. Now, these aren't the only 3, but they account for a big proportion of why this happens. How we would deal with each of those is very, very different. So what we can fall into the trap of doing is just watching endless amounts of videos or articles online and thinking that it applies to us, but actually it doesn't really. It's not specific to the situation that we're personally experiencing. So a couple of helpful things within each of these areas. First of all, sensitivity. Okay, if we know that we have a highly sensitive, usually the head area, then we have an opportunity to play around and experiment a bit to be able to reduce the sensitivity. How do we do that? Well, I bought a prop. And the cucumber prop. Toys, okay, you know, the type that we can put around whilst we're masturbating, okay, or if we don't have the toy, just using lubricant, okay, and taking our time. This is the most important thing. Allowing to relax, take the time to breathe through the waves of when the sensitivity comes up. That starts to get our body more used to when we're in the actual moment. Investing in either a toy or some decent lube and taking your time. This is good, I think, to start when you're on your own, okay, to help just get used to more sensitive feelings rather than it just feeling like such a rush in the moment. Anxiety. Okay, I'm going to share the performance anxiety quiz at the end of this. You will also see it in the comments. But with anxiety, we can't just put it out of our minds, right? There's a lot of unhelpful advice that says, oh, just stop overthinking. This doesn't get us anywhere. We need to know how to do that, how to get out of our head. So I'll come back to that one shortly. Number 2, this tip is very important, okay, because this is really what orgasms are centered around, and that is something called tension. We're all familiar with the word tension. So I want you to notice when you're solo or when you're with somebody, when you're building up to an orgasm, our body increases in tension. It gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and you may feel this all over your body. You may feel it in a certain place in your stomach area or your chest, but wherever it may be, there is tension that builds up in our body to be able to take us towards and into an orgasm. So something that I have started experimenting with recently, and I would really encourage you to try this because it's safe and it's totally possible to do this when we're by ourselves as well, is as you're noticing the feeling of tension building up when we get closer to orgasm, is then to imagine relaxing the body. So you can do it right now and practicing, like imagining if you're holding your bladder, okay, so you're about to go to the toilet, but you squeeze and then let go. It's a very similar feeling to exactly that, okay? But when we're building up into orgasm, there's tension that's increasing in our body, and then we're going to practice just allowing it to release, allowing it to let go. I tried this recently, and what happened was I initially thought, oh my God, I've just made myself lose the climax in the moment. That didn't happen. It came back and it was absolutely fine. But I just wanted to share that because you may experience a similar thing. So I want you to know that if that happens, you have not just sacrificed your ability to climax in that moment. No, your body has just released the tension and now you're able to build it back up. And actually for me, what happened in that moment is I had multiple orgasms in that session, and I totally did not expect that. I hadn't experienced that before. So this is something I'm definitely going to be experimenting with some more myself as well. But tension, feel the tension increasing and letting it go. Okay, and then number 3 is about masturbation. Is your masturbation pattern corresponding with a sex pattern? Now, when we're masturbating, often what we're teaching ourselves is a few minutes and we're over and done, and let's carry on with the day, or before we go to bed, or whatever it may be. Sometimes we can have longer sessions, yes, but For most of us, it's a wham bam thank you ma'am is the phrase, okay? Now, when we're training our body to do that, we're likely to carry that into sex, the same blueprint into sex, the same pattern into sex, because that's how we've trained our mind and our body. Oh, when it feels like this, I do this. So in the case of what we're talking about with masturbation here, when it starts to feel like things are building up, then I climax. Or when I start to feel friction in that part of my body, or touch in that part of my body, or thrusting, rubbing in that part of my body, then that means it's time to climax. That's what we're teaching ourselves, but in a very short time window usually when it comes to masturbation. And then we're expecting ourselves to perform differently when it comes to sex, but that's not what our body is used to. That's not what we've been teaching our body. So it's important that we teach our body a different set of rules when we're masturbating, so that we carry that into when it comes to sex, and it takes us in the direction that we want to go. So rather than a wham bam thank you ma'am over and done in a few moments, I want you to try extending that period of time, right? Extending that period of time using lube as well, because this is also another very good thing to help our body just get used to it not being too much friction there. Extending the amount of time when we're solo, and then seeing over time. Okay, this is not an overnight shift. This takes a bit of time for our brain to start and our body to start learning, oh, okay, we're doing this differently now. But these are 3 very helpful things to try. Now, I mentioned the performance anxiety quiz. Let me come back to that. One of the top reasons that I see for premature ejaculation is anxiety. Now, whether that's to do with things in the past or whether that's felt like more of a recent thing that's come out of nowhere, as men, it can be very easy to get into the cycle of overthinking when it comes to intimacy, especially when we're experiencing things like premature ejaculation or not being able to climax at all or losing our erection, whatever it may be. A lot of this is related to sexual performance anxiety. For us to be able to get that sorted, I said it's no use just watching the videos that say, practice the breathing, stop overthinking. This is okay, kind of helpful. It points us in the direction to focus on, but it doesn't actually give us the tools that we need to do to be able to get this sorted. So the first step, I invite you to take the free performance anxiety quiz. This is 10 yes or no questions that you answer that will show you what is going on for you personally. Is this performance anxiety or is it something else, so that you can answer that question? And then you'll see the 3 steps to be able to fix performance anxiety, so that ultimately you can feel normal again and start getting back to or having the type of sex that you deserve and that you desire. That is totally possible. So if that sounds good to you, head to the comments below. You will see the link to the performance anxiety quiz. Click on that link. It's going to take you straight to the page where you can answer the 10 yes or no questions, and I will see you right at the quiz.